Yeah, I'm already good to go on that. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to day 10 of Teen Driver Education, the Hernandez Driveway. Today we'll be discussing alcohol and other drugs. Not managing distractions. I have the wrong presentation. Excuse me, folks. All right, but yes, today we will be discussing alcohol and other drugs, and so I decided that I'd give my favorite alcoholic a hand today. But unfortunately, he says you have to blend in when you're hanging out with other Ricks because they're an egotistical bunch. So you'll pardon me for the get-up. It's for my safety, I ensure you. Alright, so there we go. Here's our proper presentation. 1 second, folks. Let me just get this ready to go for y'all. Let's see. Slideshow. Nope, that is not the format I need. Alright, 1 second. Of course, technical issues this early on. Slides. Oh, no. All right, folks. Sorry about the technical difficulties. I'll be back with you in just a minute here. Let's see. Get that back going. All right, back in a bit. Okay, so it was on that one.
Yeah, but let's see. Is it presenting? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. Okay. I'll turn on studio. On the presentation. And resize it. Sorry about that, folks. When Acrobat shows you a screen you're not used to. So, there we go, and the music. There we go. So, as I said, today we're going to be discussing alcohol and other drugs, the Hernandez Driveway. And as always, your instructor, Fat Rick, will be here for Today's lesson, because you're here live at 5 for your afternoon driving lesson, the Hernandez Driveway. All right, so midterm quiz. Since y'all are online, you don't actually have to take the quiz, but let's see how much of this information you know. No need to answer. Just if you know it, you know it. If you're like, oh, right, well, then maybe we just need to read this stuff a little more, maybe pay a little more attention to the homework assignments, because once y'all start driving, you're expected to know this stuff and know it well, folks. All right, so the octagon tells us to stop. The pentagon tells us we're in a school zone. The equilateral triangle indicates that we are in a we need to yield situation. Okay, the horizontal rectangle and the vertical rectangle both provide information, rules of the road, or where you're coming and going. Circle is a railroad crossing. All diamond signs are warnings. And the pennant is a no passing zone. All right, only in a no passing, or only with the pennant is this a new sign. The rest of these have been around for a long time, folks. So y'all should already know these. Okay? And we've been talking about these. All right, so let's see, what else have we got? All right, what are the different colors and what do they mean? We've got red for stop, yield, and prohibited. Yellow are warning or proceed with caution colors. Green are guide signs. Black and white are regulatory, those rules, right? Let's see here. We've got orange for construction and detour, blue for motorist services, and brown for public recreation and cultural interest. All right, now the 5 parts of the Smith system. Part 1, aim high in steering, look far down the road. Part 2, keep your eyes moving. If your eyes aren't moving, it's hard to get in the big picture. Okay? Make sure others see you. Do not ride or drive in people's blind spots. Right? And always leave yourself an out. Make sure that in the event of an emergency, you have somewhere you can go. Because if you're boxed in, if you're trapped, no portal gun, no way out, what are you going to do? You're going to crash. We don't want that. Right? Next, we've got, what does IPDE stand for? Well, we need to learn to identify, predict, decide, and execute. Our ability to do so is going to keep us safe on the roadway, folks. All right, so please work on that. Please start thinking like that when you see stuff happening. Try to predict, then decide what the best thing to do would be, and then see how the driver executes, because they're using their judgment to avoid situations as well. All right, now, list the steps for a proper lane change. Signal. Before you do anything else, signal, because that's going to mean that you've met your mandatory minimum time frame required for a legal signal. Right? Mirrors. Over the shoulder blind spot check. If everything is awesome, go. Make your lane change. Once you're fully in your lane and in control of the vehicle, meaning you've made the car go straight at least for a few feet in the new lane, then you may turn off your signal. Okay? Now, what is the difference between a white line and a yellow line on the roadway? White lines are lanes traveling or divide lanes that are traveling in the same direction. Yellow lines divide lanes that are traveling in the opposite direction. So we can safely cross white lines. Yellow lines, a little dangerous, right? Right? Now, what's the difference between a broken line and a solid line? Well, broken lines are like open gates that allow for crossing and passing situations, right? Solid lines are indicating to you that you can no longer cross. You may not cross in that area. It is not safe. You can't do it. Okay. Number 8, how long does a full stop last? Folks, this one can save you thousands of dollars over a lifetime by just remembering that a full stop lasts at least 3 seconds, and we're actually looking for traffic during that. Even if it doesn't take the full 3 seconds, then you're like, all right, check again. There went my 3 seconds. Now I may go. All right. What is the difference between slowing down and stopping? Slowing down simply requires you to take your foot off the gas. Lift your foot off the accelerator. Stopping is any time we are actively pressing the brakes in an attempt to come to a stop. Okay. What are the different gears in an automatic vehicle? Just remember Prindle. Park. Locks the tires. Car won't move. Reverse for going backwards. Neutral for moving the vehicle without power or for turning it off or back on while in motion. Drive for going forward, and low gear for when you need that little extra power and you got to pull or get started going uphill. But remember, driving in low gear at speeds above 10 miles an hour is a no-no. Right? Now, best DUI stop, we can't actually show it anymore because the kind people at Comedy Central have rebirthed Reno 911, at least online they have, with the streaming services. So because of that, this clip is now copywritten. But I'm going to talk to you about it for a minute because this clip is actually kind of amazing on many levels when it comes to a DUI stop. Because what's the purpose, right? When the cops are pulling you over, it's not automatically you're going to jail if you've been drinking and you're over 21. No, their first concern is, are you still capable? So that's what a DUI stop is. Are you still capable? Well, if they pull you over and you don't reek to high heaven of alcohol, like someone who's going to blow a .2 or higher on the breathalyzer, then they're first going to perform what is called a field sobriety test. Right? Now, field sobriety test generally consists of a few simple things. All right? They'll ask you to tilt your head back, close your eyes, reach your arms out, point out one finger, and then touch your nose, alternating. And then they might even be like, with your right hand, with your left hand, with your left hand. And you got to be paying attention and do it the proper way. And then they'll ask you to stand with 1 foot off the ground, 6 inches, while counting to 10. I have bad balance, so for me, that one always kind of sucked. They'll ask you to say the alphabet backwards, and I think you need a superpower or to practice that nonsense to be able to do that effectively. They have you walk a line to make sure that you're still capable of doing all these things. That means you're still capable of driving. So the individual that gets pulled over in this one is a Nevada cowboy. All right, like a Western shirt, cowboy hat, big old honking mustache, comes down to his chin, no beard, just that big old, 1970s stash that you just looks like something out of, a baseball card. I mean, really impressive mustache though, even though the guy looks like an old cowboy. All right, and the situation starts out plain and simple. He gets pulled over, asked out of the vehicle for a field sobriety test. And the officer does the basics. It's like, stand on 1 foot, stands on 1 foot. Touch your nose, touches his nose. And then they're like, say the alphabet backwards. And damn it, that man does it so good that I am convinced he spent a week sitting there practicing that. He was just singing the ABCs backwards, nonstop, until he had that rhythm just down in his head as good as we have in ours. I mean, this was miraculous. And then it starts to get a little more funny. The officer hasn't walked the line, and now it's like, okay, and now while you're walking, let's do a bump, bump, step, bump, bump, step. And so he's doing this stuff, and then they get a little more into it, and it gets a little more ridiculous. And then the gentleman's like, well, what if I ended it with like and then I just like jump and spin, and then I land and throw my hat up in the air like that. And the officer's like, wow, you know what? Well, you've definitely passed this, and I'm so sorry I bothered you, but I've got to say, you're really good. You must be a dancer or something. And the guy goes, nah, I'm just drunk. And that's when it becomes, a problem for the gentleman. All right, he just passed his field sobriety test. He just proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that he was still capable of driving. But then that magnificent bastard, never heard that word? That's a Lobo word from DC Comics. Good guy. Lobo, destroyer of worlds. Anyway, this brilliant, magnificent man says, nah, I'm drunk. And now he did not execute his right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Okay? His admission of being drunk, even though he passed the field sobriety test, automatically meant that he had to get arrested and taken to jail. All right, folks, if you do get pulled over as an adult and you have had a beer and they do the field sobriety test, all right, they're checking to see if you're still capable of driving. If you are, they'll gladly let you go. But if you prove that you're not or say that you're intoxicated, you're going to go somewhere. You're going to go to jail. All right, so don't do that to yourself. Now.
Oh, hell.
No, can't go on that. Sorry, bud. All right, so continuing from here, we're going to learn now about Jackie and Reggie. Now, Jackie and Reggie are probably the two most influential faces on the Faces of Drunk Driving. That's a program that was started that, well, it humanized the problem of drunk driving, is what it did. It took, 10,000 people die, and it turned them into this person died, this person died, this person didn't die. They started showing the people. Normally I read from this little website that has articles, and we'll probably hit that next week, about nothing but accidents here in Texas. I haven't done it this class. I usually only do it a couple of times. But because it stresses the actual fact that real Texans, real Americans, real people on this planet are crashing and losing their life, they're losing their vehicles, they're losing their well-being every single day because people make the choice to not follow the rules. All right, folks? And Jackie and Reggie have done more to humanize drunk driving and convince people that it really is bad than probably any two people in this world. Plain and simple, I absolutely blame them and their courage for sharing their story, for the world finally understanding that, don't drink and drive. All right, so let's check this out, right? Jackie's story. Nope, come. I promise I want you to play. You gonna play? There we go.
Jackie was beautiful, with pretty brown eyes and thick brown hair.
She was always a lot of fun. She loved to laugh and loved to dance. She was a great dancer.
We'd go to the beach. She loved to jet ski.
After college, she had planned to take over her father's business, but now who knows? Her life will never be the same.
Everyone liked Reggie. He knew how to have a good time.
Reggie was definitely a jock. He had lots of friends, played a whole bunch of sports.
He hadn't had that new blue SUV for very long, and you could tell he was crazy about it.
Reggie's not the kind of guy you would have expected to get into trouble and end up where he did.
This is where 20-year-old Jackie Sabarito wanted to be. She left her family in Venezuela to come to the United States to learn to speak English. Reggie Steffi was a senior in high school. He played baseball and football. College was in his future. One of his prized possessions was the SUV he had customized. Early one Sunday morning in the fall of 1999, Jackie's and Reggie's paths crossed. In a split second, their lives would be changed forever. Just a few hours earlier, Jackie had been at a birthday party with some of her new friends. Reggie got together with friends and drank beer after work Saturday evening. Although Texas has a zero-tolerance law that makes it illegal for anyone under 21 to buy or possess alcohol, later that night he went to a party and drank some more. It was late when Jackie and her friends left the birthday party. Neither she nor the driver had been drinking. Jackie rode in the front seat. About the same time, Reggie was also driving home. He was drunk. Reggie's SUV crossed the center line and hit the car Jackie was riding in head-on. A fire started in the engine and spread to the inside of the car.
Oh my God. What's the matter? I've got an emergency. I've got to call Rick. I believe it's on now.
Two of Jackie's friends died instantly. Jackie's legs were pinned under the dashboard. Trapped, Jackie begged for help, but rescuers could not get her out. Engulfed in flames, she screamed for 45 seconds. Then there was silence. Other than a few bruises, Reggie didn't seem to be hurt. He was taken to a hospital, He was okay, except for one thing. The blood test showed he'd been drinking. Police officers arrested him and took Reggie to jail. Jackie was barely alive when she arrived at the hospital. She was burned over most of her body. Her hair was gone, so were her nose and her ears. Her eyes were scorched, and she was almost completely blind. The fingers on both of her hands had to be amputated. The pain was indescribable and constant. She depends on her father to take care of her. Jackie spent months in the hospital. She fights every day to recover. Since the crash, she has had 50 operations, and many more will be necessary. When she can, she goes to school to improve her English. Reggie Steffi was tried and convicted for causing the deaths of 2 people while he was driving drunk. He is now in the state penitentiary.
I went from a football field on Friday to a prison cell on Sunday. That quick. Through the choices I made on one Saturday. And so it can happen. I have never been in any trouble before in my life. I have never gotten any DWIs or gotten in trouble with alcohol at all. But the one time that I made that horrible decision, and the one time that I got in trouble, one time, it was devastating. And the fact that drinking and driving isn't a joke, it's not something to play around with. It's real, and these are the consequences. All of a sudden, you're in this whole new world, here you go, and you're by yourself. You're alone. And it's a shock. You always have a correctional officer telling you what to do and when to do it. Everywhere you go, you get strip searched, and make sure you're not bringing anything in or taking anything out where you're not supposed to take it. The lights come on at breakfast at 2 o'clock in the morning and stay on because people come and go. Lights out is at 10:30. It's definitely not like sleeping at home. It's a sparse lifestyle. I probably miss the most, I miss my family, my friends, the people that I've known all my life. They've always been a top priority for me, and something that I've always cared very deeply about. So that is probably the hardest thing to deal with.
Completamente diferente mi vida.
My life before was completely different from that of today's. I was independent, 100% independent. I depended on my father financially, but I could do most things on my own, almost everything.
Podía hacer muchas cosas por mí sola, ¿no?
I attended college, drove my car, occasionally went to parties, danced flamenco. In other words, a full agenda for a 20-year-old. What happens now is that I am a bit more afraid because I don't trust myself. Not because I'm a different Jackie internally. It's rather that externally, I can't do what I could do before.
My father is helping me to do the regular things like put on my clothes or cut the food. He cares me because my vision is not very good. Right now, I don't have a specific goal. You know, I want to finish studying English. I want, to keep going with my treatment. It's very difficult because in the past, before the accident, when all the doors were open for a regular young person, and in my case, it's harder because most of the doors are closed, no?
I'm a normal person. I was a normal high school student. Anybody can come to prison, and anybody can be involved in a drinking and driving collision. It's not something that just happens to alcoholics or the trouble kids.
Something I have always dreamed about but never thought of fulfilling was to be a singer. But of course, there's no way I could be a singer now, because singing nowadays requires many physical qualities, which I regrettably no longer have.
Depression can come up real quick when you realize all the things that are going on around your family and that you're missing.
One doesn't know what's worse, if to die or be left in this condition. There are times that I wonder, why was I left like this? Why didn't I die? Why did I remain here?
Knowing what's happened, knowing the damage that I've caused to so many people and so many families, it's something that I can't describe to anybody.
The person that caused my accident, destroyed my life completely.
And the prison sentence is nothing compared to the life sentence that I'm going to live with, knowing what I did and the consequences of what I did. The loss of life. It didn't have to happen. Period. Not too long ago, I was in high school, and I was out there, I was making the same decisions that most of you were making. I was going out there on the weekends, and I'd hang out with my friends, and I'd drink. We'd drink. It was the thing to do. But you see, one of the bad decisions that I made was getting behind the wheel to go home. And you could very easily make that same decision. You might have made it before. But I want to let you know you have a choice. There are a number of things you can do. First of all, if you don't drink, you can't be impaired. But you can probably call one of your friends that hasn't been drinking. Or maybe get a designated driver in the first place so you don't have to wait till the last minute. Or you can even call your parents. And you might have to suffer a little consequence for it, but I'm sure they'd be much happier having you home alive than in a body bag or behind bars.
Indeed.
So I can get up here and I can tell you not to drink. I can tell you not to drink and drive. But in the end, the decision is going to be yours. And you have to make that choice. And so I hope you make the right decision and not the same decision that I did.
My name is Jacqueline Saborido. This is a picture of me before I was hit by a drunk driver. Before the car caught fire. Before 2 of my friends died. Before I needed more than 40 operations. This is me when my life was just like anyone else in college. This is me after being hit by a drunk driver.
Now, when that started broadcasting on television, awareness went through the roof. People stopped ignoring little things like, you actually have consequences when you choose to drink and drive. And it's kind of amazing because it just took that humanizing aspect. Texas takes a very similar approach with the impact video. The impact video is going to show you real people that are affected by distracted driving, and it's something that everyone has to complete before taking out their driver's license. Right? Anybody wants their license. If they're getting it for the first time, they have to watch that video. Right? Because it's very easy to be like, oh yes, millions of children in foreign countries are suffering. I need that new iPhone. I don't care if it costs $1,400. It's very, very easy to be like that because the problem isn't in your face. You can't see it. You're not invested in it. But when you see the faces, when you see the way people live, it gets a little harder to do something like that where you're like, I'm going to spend so much money on me on something I'm going to replace in a year when I could choose to maybe send them a little cash or help out with some kind of charity organization or something. Humanizing a problem makes it harder for the world to ignore it. And that's what the Faces of Drunk Driving did. Is it humanized it, and Reggie can't never get no job or a girlfriend or boyfriend, if that's his decision, or damn near anything from now until he's so old that he's unrecognizable. And even then, his name is still going to ring some bells. He's never escaping the truth of what happened. But he accepted it. And he was willing to put himself on blast and show the world what his mistake did. Because A, it was going to help commute his sentence. Yeah, he got out of jail a little sooner. But B, he felt honest and real remorse. Now, I never got to meet him, obviously. But I do actually have a friend in the prison system who did. And they asked him just like, I'm sorry, I'm new here, but I know who you are. And just does it still hurt? And he was like, every day. All right. And I actually was talking about Reggie with someone recently, and they were like, oh yeah, I met him, and this happened. And I was like, that's kind of cool. But he was stationed there at that prison here in Texas. All right, but folks, that's the reason I think that so much of the United States has finally come to that understanding that we just do not drink and drive. That drinking and driving is dangerous. Puts us at risk. All right, so types of alcohol. Okay, there are several different types of alcohol. We've got ethyl alcohol, also known as grain alcohol. We've got isopropyl alcohol, that's, rubbing alcohol. And then we've got methyl alcohol, known as wood alcohol. Now, only grain alcohol is non-toxic for humans. But alcoholism will drive people to try to drink the other kinds and just hope they survive the encounter. Because it's strong. All right, addiction is hard. And as a person that cannot drink because of my own desire to keep drinking, I had a stint as an alcoholic, but I was very fortunate one night. After drinking more in a single day than I'd ever drank before, peeing my pants and throwing up on myself at work, and then continuing to drink after my shift until the bar closed at 2 a.m. and then I had to leave. Completely and utterly so far past drunk that statistically I had a better chance of just dropping dead than I did making it home. And yet somehow I still made it home. Now, problem is while I'm driving home, and I understand I'm super intoxicated, and I understand that I've had way more than I should have, and I am not safe to be driving. I look up and I see, oh my God, I'm 3 miles away from the house, and I blink, and when I open my eyes again, I've traveled a mile down the road, and I'm at the next exit. Now, realizing that I just spent 60 seconds napping on the roadway with my cruise control on and my car going 60 miles an hour, whether I was awake to control it or not, which is why I tell y'all folks that it's not an autopilot. Please do not engage it thinking that it's going to stop you from getting into a collision, because it won't. All it's going to do is make sure you get to that collision at the same speed limit the entire time. That's what cruise control does. And unfortunately, me being stupid, thinking, well, if I get pulled over for speeding, they're going to know I'm drunk. Instead of just, I don't know, sleeping in my car, getting maybe in some trouble that way, I chose to drive. And I passed out on the road for a full minute, and I was so remorseful, I was so distraught, I was so destroyed that, somebody wasted a miracle keeping me alive. Because at that point in my life, I wasn't real happy with who I was and how life was going. I enjoyed my job as a DJ, but I was too good at my job, and my fans bought me too many drinks, and I drank all the drinks that were bought for me because I believed a stupid lie. Friends want you to drink. If someone buys you a drink, they are automatically your friend because only friends want you to drink. That's not true. A friend will gladly understand if you're not in the mood to drink. A friend will gladly accept your offer to be the designated driver or your statement of, I don't feel like drinking right now. A friend's not going to pressure you into that. Nor are they going to allow you to go driving if you are completely hammered. So I really only had one friend at work, and he asked me a few questions but didn't flat out tell me I shouldn't drive that night. And I drove home, and when I got home, after having cried in some stranger's driveway for 20 minutes because I was terrified of what had happened on the roadway, I made a decision that I needed to stop drinking. And it ultimately led to me losing that job as a DJ, but that's okay because as much as I loved it, the temptation, being surrounded, by other people drinking, the availability of alcohol, having people literally buying me alcohol and me telling the bartender, no, don't send it to me, just send me a, look-alike. With all that going on, it was just better for me to get out of that situation because anyone can find out that they just have a hard time saying no. So at this point in my life, I'll drink one drink. I'll have one. On very rare occasions, I'll have two. If I have to, though, I'm at home with people I trust. Why? Well, let's talk about a few people that drank and shouldn't have trusted the people around them. And let's start with me. All right, so one night at my home, we are consuming quite a bit of grain alcohol. And earlier that evening, I'd had a discussion with someone and telling them that I was not romantically interested in them. They confessed that they were with me and that they thought about me all day long and they just wanted to be with me. And I was like, I'm sorry. We tried that one date and it was like going out with my sister. You're an awesome friend, but I just don't feel that way about you. And later that evening, I got intoxicated. And then this girl made her move. And my friends all cheered for the move that she made on me. And then they all gave us privacy while she proceeded to take me without my permission. I was raped. All right. Now, most guys are thinking, how? If you don't want it, you don't want it. Right? It's as simple as that. Ladies, gentlemen, doesn't matter who you are. If you say no, the answer is no. If someone decides that the answer is yes against your previously expressed wishes, that's rape. Unfortunately, law enforcement looked at it like, who cares? You're a dude, get over it. So there was really nothing I could do at the time except kick that friend out of my life and inform all the people that saw her do that I was not interested in her, that was not cool, and I was not all right with what they allowed to happen. But, that was my house, surrounded by the people that I thought were my friends. So even when we feel like we're in a safe situation, things can go bad for us if we choose to drink. And that didn't even involve driving. Neither will the next three people. All right, the first person is actually the last person that I met over a trip to the island for spring break. I was there for 2 days. Well, one night and one day. And then we came back the second night because I'd had enough. The last person, the person that was final straw for me and made me want to come home, was I was walking back up from the beach having just had a very disgusting experience that resulted in me getting slapped. I'll tell you about that here in a few minutes. And I see a young lady drinking out of a 2-story beer bong. Now, if you're not familiar with the term beer bong, it's just a big funnel with a thick hose, and people pour lots and lots of beer down this thing, and then the person at the end is trying to clear the hose. It's a very fast way to get yourself intoxicated. Okay? Just with beer, it's already a very fast way to get drunk. Well, after the first beer went in, I saw the dude up at top manning the funnel grab a bottle of straight whiskey and start pouring that in. Now, drinking that much alcohol that quickly can cause lots of damage, and it can cause it very quickly. All that can hit your stomach, and your body could instantly go into shock. Which is exactly what happened to this young lady. She cleared the hose and then started coughing as her brain finally caught on to what she just chugged. And that was 30 ounces of grain alcohol, or roughly 24 shots. in a minute. So she immediately began to shake, convulse, throw up, and then stopped moving because her body just said, F this junk, I'm out. And she was, I guess, technically dying, dead for a moment there. But I was right there, and I dropped down to the ground, and I proceeded to begin CPR. All right, chest compressions, breath. Didn't care about the vomiting. Someone was dying in front of me. Someone was dying because they chose to drink, and they chose to trust strangers because, hey, it's spring break party, have a good time, right? And unfortunately, these strangers did her dirty. And when the ambulance got there, when the cops finally got there, because the first thing I did was call for, like, hey, there's a cop out in the front of this place. Go get him. Tell him to get an ambulance here now. Because of my time participating and volunteering with law enforcement for different stuff, I already knew how stuff worked. I knew what the best way to get an ambulance there was going to be, and I knew that there was going to be an ambulance on call near there because it was spring break and people do crazy stuff all the time. And so while I'm handling this, paramedics are being called. They show up, and the guy's like, "We've got a faint pulse. She's still not breathing. Thank you, sir. You probably saved her life." I was like, "Yeah, whatever. It's okay, man. Just get her." And then the cop comes over and asks me what happened, and I was like, "I'm just walking up the beach, trying to get to my car, and I see these dudes working this beer bong that's now thrown on the ground because they unclipped it from their balcony so it would no longer be, tied specifically to them, so there'd be no one to prosecute, because they just vanished. And I let them know that they poured straight liquor in there, and she'd probably already been drinking too much, and she just voided her gut and threw up and fell to the ground. I started life-saving maneuvers, procedures, whatever you want to call it. Because I was there, I was needed, I did it. Right? I said I've never regretted learning CPR, not even that day when I had to taste barf twice. And why twice, you ask? Well, about 10 minutes before, 20 minutes before, because there was a little bit of play up to it. About 20 minutes before, I'm walking down the beach, just enjoying kind of a beautiful day, kind of grumpy about the night before, but just glad that, I'm out there. There's sun, the wind, there's beautiful waves, there's tons of people, and, I'm just happy that I'd done a good thing the night before, and I'm just walking down the beach, enjoying my day, hoping I don't see somebody. When I faintly hear, help. Now, to hear help over the din of all the noise, MTV was down the beach doing this thing, there was a stage, there were speakers, and I was like a half a mile away, but there was still a ton of people and a whole bunch of noise, and the fact that I was able just to even barely catch a little whisper of it, even though she was probably screaming at the top of her lungs, was just me being in the right place, the right time, the first time that day. All right? It's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday. It's spring break. And I look out in the water and I see an arm come up and then vanish back under the water. And then I see it come up again a little bit further out, but this time it's holding steady up. Because if you've ever been to Padre Island and you walk out far enough, this is what the ground does. It's just up, down, up, down, up, down, until you get to the point where it goes down. And you can walk out there when the tide is low and everything's like, below your gut, maybe around your belly button height. And then an hour later, tide comes in and now everything's up around your neck, maybe top of your head height in the particular area that you were standing in. But there are dunes that pull you out of that depth. But those used to be where you were like knee-high in water, and then you walked forward and you got deeper in, right? And now they're like, you're just not drowning no more. You don't have to worry about that nonsense. Well, this young lady was out there so far that she was stuck on basically an island dune that was very rapidly getting lower underwater than she could deal with. So I just looked at a girl that was staring straight at her at the edge of the beach, and I'm like, is that your friend? Yes. Do you know how to swim? No, of course you don't. I threw my stuff down, phone, which was like, I mean, it was my portal gun is like, I think smaller than what my phone felt like. And it was a big honking phone. It made a dent in the sand. Threw all that junk to the floor and ran in after. And I have taken previously lifeguard training in California as part of California requirements, right? And because it's part of California requirements, let me go ahead and go to the big scary looking guy up on the camera. All right, because it's part of California requirements, I learned lifeguard first aid training skills, as well as CPR, mouth to mouth. They went ahead and taught me the Heimlich maneuver, just to make sure that I could do all the basic stuff that people can do to save a life. And I get out to this young lady, and they teach you, if someone is already drowning, don't let them hug you. The next time water hits them in the face, they're going to try to climb you like a pole, and they'll push you under, and they can drown you. That's one of the very first things they teach us. As a matter of fact, the coach was like, Norris, you're a big boy, come here. And I'm like, okay. He's like, can you swim? And I'm like, yeah. And he threw me into the pool in the deep end. And I was like, funny, sir. And he jumps in after me to save me. He allows me to, he's like, put your arms around me like I'm going to tow you out. Okay, and then he dips under the water, and I was just about to say something, so my mouth was open, but he was waiting for that. He triggered the response. I pushed him under, came up, gasped for air, and let go of him, started swimming. He came up out of the water and said, if you save someone from drowning and you let them grab you that way, that's going to happen to you too, except they won't know how to swim. So they're going to keep holding on to you and drown you before they let go. So I remembered this. So I grabbed her by the shoulders, flipped her around, threw my arm around her, and started swimming. Like, girl, I got you. Calm down, kick your legs. She kept clawing at my arm, trying to grab me. She wasn't scratching me. She wasn't trying to get me to let her go, but she did not want to be facing the opposite direction. She was freaking out because, I don't know, she never watched Baywatch as a kid and didn't know that's how it's done, right? But I drag her in. I get her back to shore, but the whole time she's just fighting the rescue. She's not telling me to stop. I was like, I'm here to help you, and she tried to grab onto me like a koala. That's when I spun her around and started towing her in. So she wanted it her way and not my way, and I wasn't gonna let her drown me, so there'd be two dead people. When I got her back to shore, though, in her panic, in her inability to stay calm, unfortunately, she drowned, right? So I immediately started mouth to mouth. Now, mind you, it took me about 2 minutes to get from where I grabbed her to the shore, right? I didn't have to swim super far. I was basically swimming in 10-foot spurts to get across deep points, and then I would plant my feet and walk as fast as I could, as long as I had traction, right? Once I hit the point where I could, just walk, I tried to put her on her feet, but at that point she was already so panicked that's why she probably nearly drowned. Because she just was freaking out nonstop, and I'm trying to carry her, but she was more buoyant than light, unfortunately. All right. So I get her to shore, and now she's just unconscious, no longer breathing, because she couldn't just stay chill, and there was nothing I could do to restrain her better, because she was quite literally trying to not stay on the ground. She was trying not to touch the ground, but not swim either, because she couldn't do that. I don't know what the heck was going through her mind, but she was just in a terrible panic-ridden state, and probably nothing solid was going through her mind. Right, so when I got her back to shore, about 2 minutes later, she's already unconscious, already not breathing. So I immediately jump onto mouth to mouth for the first time that day. 2 seconds after the second breath, I pull back for the third, lean in, and she throws up directly into my mouth as I'm exhaling for her. This is problematic because, I may have just blown vomit directly into her lungs as she was vomiting while I was blowing, which would have been terrible. And then, of course, there's the fact that some stranger just threw up in my mouth. 50% seawater, 50% some kind of margarita or pineapple daiquiri. I don't know what the heck it was. It was fruity, disgusting, and cold. And it was in her stomach. So she drank it very recently, folks. Don't drink and swim. And when she stands up, like 30 seconds after, like, you know, she's breathing, and I help her sit up, and her friend's there, and then her friend helps her stand up. And then I stand up, and I just turn to her, and I'm like, well, I'm glad I was here to help, and just ready to walk away. And before a word can come out of my mouth, that woman just lays across the side of my face and proclaims to her friend, he touched my chest. Yeah, her complaint was from when I spun her around and threw my arm around her so that she wouldn't drown me while I was attempting to save her life. And so I just got my stuff, walked away, and oh well. Right. I was there, I did a good deed. I am very happy that I was there to do that, and the cachetada was nothing. You know, getting slapped across the face, I mean, I've gotten hit way worse than that in my lifetime, so it wasn't even like top 1,000 strikes. It was just kind of sad that, you know, I did that, and her response was violence. But you know what? She was still freaking out, so I totally get it. And I didn't do it for the acclaim because I didn't hang out, I did nothing. I just walked away. All right, just like I did as soon as the second young lady was done with me and the paramedics showed up, I just walked away. Now, the night before, I was at a concert, and I was having a very good time because we were there listening to an artist called P.D. Pablo. And P.D. Pablo had just blown up, and everybody loved his, like, one-hit wonder song. I guess he had a few, but, like, he had one that was super popular that year. And he started singing it, and then he, like, noticed me dancing, and I was doing some flow stuff with glow sticks. And Petey just kind of like gave me a little chin nod, and when he did, one of his like hardcore fans gravitated towards me. And then I was now dancing with someone, and I was really having a good time because I love to dance. And she was flowing too, so it was kind of awesome. We looked amazing together. And then we were dancing other kinds of dances, and it was a lot of fun. And I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go get some water. Would you like something? She's like, no, I'm good. And so I'm walking, and as I'm walking, I hear something that will change the way I think about spring break and clubs and bars and everything forever. I hear something that makes me change the way I think about human beings as a species forever. I hear the words, this girl is super drunk. I've already called the guys. They're heading back to the room, and I've got the camera. Drunk girl, guys, room, camera. Steve very quickly used his Einsteinian level intellect to determine what these POSs, pieces of sleaze, don't be dirty, were planning on doing to this poor young lady. And so I did the one thing that I could. Why? Because she was quite literally surrounded by 8 guys that looked like they came out of an Abercrombie and steroids advertisement. Just very Midwestern, Caucasian, muscular, and they're dancing with a girl that they have to constantly like prop back up because she's starting to like collapse a little under her own weight. And I did the one thing I think that is gonna let me pull her directly out of this situation without me having to deal with all of their egos and attitudes. I go gay. Oh my God, girl, there you are. We've been looking for you everywhere. To this, everyone within a 30-foot range, even though there's a concert going on, I am effing loud. And even the girls, absolutely drunk and just, out of her head situation, had her kind of glancing in my direction. And I walked over and I grabbed her by the hand, and then I put her arm over my shoulder, put my hand around her waist, and leaned back and, sorry boys, this girl's got to get back before midnight or she becomes a pumpkin. And I walked away with what was going to be the victim of their depravity. Now, this girl was so drunk. Well, first and foremost, let me preface, I was not there alone. My cousin and his fiance went with me. And the second I got her out to the car, I put her in the back seat. I put a construction helmet that I would carry with me, I actually still own it, But I would I put my construction helmet in her hands, and she was throwing up in that. I dump it out every once in a while. I was feeding her like crackers and Capri Suns that I'd taken so that we'd have snacks and drinks. And I called my cousin and his fiance at the time and told them that, hey, you know what, this just happened. I had to leave the club. Can they please meet me out here? I need to go grab Gatorade or something because like I'm just trying to rehydrate this girl so she's not going to be the most hungover ever tomorrow on top of being the drunkest she's ever been. And really, I mean, only time is going to sober up an individual. And so 4 hours, 3 Gatorades, a few packs of crackers, like those little cheese or peanut butter crackers, and a whole bunch of throwing up in the back seat of my minivan with my cousin's wife, just kind of like sitting there in the front seat watching, my cousin in the front seat ready to drive once she's coherent, and me sitting next to her in the back seat, like rubbing her back and telling her everything's going to be okay and asking her over and over again where the heck she's staying. Now, after 3-4 hours, she was finally sober enough. Still not sober. She was still very, very intoxicated, didn't realize what was going on, never even questioned who I was, even though she'd never seen me before in her life. I finally find out where she's staying. And so we get to the hotel that she's staying at. She said it was a tall one by the beach, and it wasn't the ones that we were close to because we were close to the clubs. And I was like, all right, well, there's only 2 other options. Let's go. It's this one. All right, sweet. And so we take her to the first floor. Is this your floor? She's like, no, I threw up in that plant. She slurs it, and I could barely understand her. But I worked it out, and I looked over the plant, and I'm like, well, there's no vomit there. Next floor. No vomit there. Next floor. Get up to the 4th floor, and there's vomit in the plant. And so, yay! We found the right floor. And then I'm walking her down the hall, and she's like, it's this one. And I bang on the door like the police, and they open up very cautiously, and then they see her, and then the door comes wide. And now me, sans the beard, actually back then I had a, what I called my Sam Jackson. I had a goatee that just kind of came down about as far as the white patch on my beard does. And it was just this long, thin thing like what Sam Jackson was wearing for a few years. I just proceeded to yell at them and tell them that she didn't have anything on her that said where she was staying. She didn't have anyone saved as her best friend on the phone. So when I went through her phone trying to find someone to contact to get her some help, I took down her parents' numbers. And if I saw her on the beach the very next day in that kind of condition, I was just going to immediately call them and let them know what their darling daughter's friends allowed to nearly happen to her. At which point, every individual at that room party shut up and just kind of stared at me in horror. And I explained very thoroughly exactly what I heard, what I saw, and the consequences she may have experienced because they chose to leave her alone. And someone tried to defend it and say, well, she wanted to stay there because of the concert. And I was like, yeah, well, I'm pretty sure she wanted to do that sober. But now that she's completely knackered, she didn't want to become the victim of, and she wasn't able to convey that information anymore because there was no one there watching her back. And they decided very intelligently not to argue with me, and that's where it ended. I was like, all right, thank you guys. Y'all have a wonderful spring break. Be careful how you drink, and if I see her alone again, y'all are... And I said some profanity. Okay. Now, all of these instances relied on trusting others. All of these instances were just doing stuff and drinking. Swimming and drinking. We already learned that's not a good idea. Combining alcohol and the beach is kind of cool if you're, not planning on going in the water, not doing any driving, you want to have a few beers, do some fishing. Okay, I'm all right with that once you're old enough for such. But if you're going to go swimming, if you're going to be driving, if you're going to be doing anything that could potentially lead to your death if you're not able to do it properly, then alcohol's not a winning strategy. All right? Number 2, going to a club or spring break or a rave or anything like that you are basically having to trust that every other individual there is not a rapist. And you have to be sure that you never drink anything that you didn't specifically see poured and served. That you never just keep accepting drinks from people, whether they tell you there's a lot of alcohol in them or not. Because sometimes a drink tastes really good and there's 4 or 5 shots in it. And so just one is enough to already impair you. If they get you to drink 2 or 3 in a quick succession, when that drunk does hit you, it's going to be so overwhelming that you may just pass out and die. Because that's the strategy in those sorts of situations. When people are trying to ply you with alcohol, their ultimate goal is either acceptance or inability to say no. Because if someone's already committed to violating you, really they just need that legal standpoint so they can get away with it. Either you're okay with it, you say yes, or you're completely unable to say no, and they're going to be out of there before you can do anything. All right? It's terrible. It's horrible. But people do it. And as I learned, even someone that you might think is your friend will convince themselves that it's okay to sleep with you because you didn't say no, even though you were completely hammered. Even though you'd said no earlier, you changed your mind. No, you didn't. I didn't. I certainly didn't. I don't remember the incident. I only know about it because of, the remaining evidence the following day, and what people told me. And I felt violated when I heard it. Because I was. All right, folks. Choosing to drink in public, there's nothing wrong with going to a bar and having a couple drinks, having a nice time, playing some billiards, and then getting a ride home because you've been drinking, you shouldn't be driving. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But you need to pay attention to your drinks when you're specifically at like a club or something like that. In any situation where there are just a ton of people, bad lighting and bad visibility because of, whatever reason. Why? Because people are very happy to drug you. Slip a little something in your drink and now you can no longer make that decision and you won't remember this evening at all. And a country that will sell you 80% of the medications you need without a script, without a prescription, is just 15 minutes away, folks. So if you don't think that there's capability for that, there absolutely is. All right? It's just choose to drink in a safe environment. All right, if you are going to use drugs, I really prefer you didn't, but I'm also not going to be able to say don't do something and y'all aren't going to listen to me for the rest of your life because you are your own person. But if you do choose to do anything like that, make sure you're in a safe environment too, because a buddy of mine was getting really high one night, smoking some stuff that he shouldn't have been smoking. And I'm not talking about anything herbal, I'm talking about stuff that was like chemically cooked up in a lab. And the 2 gentlemen that were providing him the free smoke kept giving him and giving him and giving him and giving him until they thought he was out of his senses and that his pants came off. And then someone applied lubricant to him and then he ran. He ran for it. He got the hell out of there because suddenly his brain realized what was going on and no. Right? But using drugs and alcohol around others puts you at their mercy, folks. So how amazing are people? Do people take responsibility for their actions? Are people inherently kind? Do people do what is right because it is right for no other reason than because it would be wrong to do something wrong? Not enough people, folks. So please be very aware of the situation that you put yourself in. All right? Now, the Try Guys are going to try drunk driving. Now, later on, we're going to watch Try Guys do texting and driving as well as driving while sleep deprived. But these guys make great videos. They're actually really scientific on this one. And when we finish the series, the last video, we'll take a look and really see which was the most dangerous of all the driving risks that they took. Because...
Sir, have you had anything to drink today?
Nothing.
Eugene! That's beer. Sir, I definitely think you're inebriated.
Am I under arrest?
You're free to drive.
Drive. Let's go!
For this epic 4-part series, the Try Guys will test what it's like to drive under the influence 4 different ways. We're getting drunk, we're getting stoned, we're getting sleepy, and we're gonna be texting.
We're doing this specifically to show you why you shouldn't do this. And we're gonna do it safely.
So science and
also
safety
is involved.
It's science, ladies and gentlemen. Barely science. What dog?
You just crushed a...
You crushed a dog
What
already.
dog? When was there a dog? When was there a dog?
DUI driving. We're here at the beautiful Irwindale Speedway. We've got a closed course set up, and we are gonna get irresponsibly educational.
These scientific explorations that we do with real-life applications are some of our favorite videos to produce.
Because we're educated the children.
You hear that all of these things are bad. I don't know how bad, because I've never done them. I don't do... Well, that's not true. Actually, I've kind of done them all. Yeah, I guarantee you, every adult you know has probably done at least 2 out of the 4 things we're testing.
Yeah, I've definitely had a couple beers or a couple glasses of wine and then driven home.
To tell us about some of the dangers of DUI driving, we are going to talk to a traffic cop.
I have 32 years of experience, 17.5 years recently overseeing traffic crimes, many collision investigations involving impaired driving.
As well as a doctor who is also an addiction specialist.
I think it's a good public service type of experiment because driving, doing any of these things, it's going to impair the person's ability to drive safely.
Gentlemen. We have to get drunk.
Yes, legally too drunk to drive a car.
We've done a few videos on alcohol before, so we know how many drinks it takes to get us drunk. Therefore, we're going to drink what we personally elect to.
Yeah. We're in a skybox, baby.
Daddy's choice. But first, we got to take to the course to see how we do like normal human beings.
Since this is science, we're going to be doing a control. I'm completely sober, gonna try out the course.
We love you,
Safe
Dad.
with the car.
Or not, you know, feel free to
You need to use it.
feel it out.
Go wild,
There
Daddy.
are so many more drives. Today we are using my car. Because my car is the most new,
I don't know why Keith is letting us use his car. I think that's a horrible idea.
It wasn't really presented as an option.
Let the record show we've designed a course that is difficult when sober.
First, we open on a straightaway, then an easy left turn that goes into a serpentine. We stop at a stop sign at a 4-way intersection, take a simple left turn into a lane change. Then we go into a stoplight, or at least someone holding a stoplight, because we tried to buy a stoplight, we couldn't find one, and it was expensive. Anyways, then we continue on to a fork in the road. At one point, we will have to put the car in reverse. We continue on to a couple of hairpin turns, and then the road narrows and narrows and narrows until the car can barely fit. We finish with a straightaway, and then finally, a parallel parking challenge. And of course, there will be a couple of surprises along the way.
All right.
Now, the course is actually well designed, thought out. It does test all the
Talking
different
so
things
much.
that you can do while driving.
You know, as the best driver of the Try Guys, I feel like I'm gonna nail this course.
The Try Guys are all actually pretty great drivers, so if you see us fuck up in these videos, it's because we're fucked up.
Oh, Eugene!
Yeah, he could have made it.
But you know what? He was
Better safe than sorry. If I make mistakes, how fucking embarrassing because it's my car.
Maybe he'll be more careful because he doesn't want anyone to hurt his car.
Yeah.
Aw, Zach, I'm doing great, sweetie. Aw.
All right, and we shall proceed slowly.
Did somebody put Ned's baby in the car without me looking? He's driving so slow.
Now with the baby, it's not just my own life I'm taking behind the wheel. It's my whole family's.
You really almost ran that stop sign.
Oh, he's trying to take this with speed now.
Ooh, that's a tight. I am an excellent driver. I am a terrible drinker.
Stop that.
Wow, he is the best driver.
Oh my God.
I hate reversing like this.
Weirdly, this is one of my favorite things to do just because people look so sexy when they reverse.
Is he gonna make it?
No. I thought I could do it.
We're gonna be measuring 2 things. 1, how long it takes us. 2, how many cones we knock over.
Oh, now he's just driving over the same cone. Get out from under my car, you stupid cones!
Physically impossible to get through.
It is impossible.
Okay,
They
gross.
said there's lots of
This
to
is
be
very
using,
funny.
I
I
think,
get it.
because this
I felt like it was a pretty good representation of typical traffic obstacles you'd have, but just condensed into a small course.
How am I supposed to do this? High or drunk or sleep deprived or anything?
Since I was sober, I was able to do it all without hitting any cones.
I really can't imagine this being much more difficult, regardless of what substance you put into me.
We'll see.
I'm pretty sure we're all familiar with the fact that drinking and driving is not a very safe thing to do, and in fact leads to many, many accidents and even deaths in this country.
Oh, boy.
In the United States, over 10,400 people die annually as a consequence of impaired driving. Before people go out to celebrate, we ask them to think how they're going to come back home safely.
We're doing it so you know why you don't do it. Oh, I see.
So alcohol is a central nervous system depressant, and it's going to slow the brain down.
It's like we're on The Bachelor.
Okay.
They just get them really drunk and then like all have them go after the same person.
Can I steal you for a second?
Oh, wow.
This might be the alcohol talking, but I think we really have a connection.
Hey Keith, can I borrow you for a second?
I don't really like the way that Ned pulled you, because I could tell that you weren't into it.
Can I borrow you for a sec? Feel
Yeah.
the jam.
I haven't picked the final one yet. Ned, you're going home. Oh,
Yeah!
sorry, man.
Suck it, Ned! Suck it!
You know what?
leave him alone!
I'll see
you
what I need.
I'll see
You
what
and
banging
Paradise.
up. You and yeah.
Wow.
You won't team up Paradise.
Wow.
We're gonna be a Paradise
Wow.
together.
I used to not drink very much, and then I had a baby. Now, once the baby goes down for a nap, mandatory 3 glasses of wine.
Here's to Ned's wife.
What am I like drunk? I'm very loving.
Oh my God, that is so sweet.
I just want to party. Let's amp this up, guys.
I have a really low tolerance. Anytime that I drink too much, I get stomach ache. Go, go, go! I gotta do it too, buddy!
Everyone's different, and some people are much more sensitive and can be impaired at a lower limit.
I feel like the times that I actually get the most drunk is when the cameras are rolling for Try Guys videos. So you're playing.
Ned, take your time. Breathe. Drunk Keith is like everybody's friend. I mean, Keith in general is everybody's friend.
Whereas some patients who are more chronic alcohol abusers can have a higher limit in their blood, but still seem like they're pretty sober. So it really depends on the person.
Eugene had the most 8 or 9 drinks. That's so many in 30 minutes.
I'm what people call an avid alcohol enthusiast. When I'm drunk, I'm confident. Does everyone here know what Big Dick Energy is?
Once we start to get to about the legal limit, which is 0.08, then we start to see coordination problems.
Pretty good.
Problems with judgment. Depth perception can change. And as the person drinks more and more, this is going to get worse and worse.
Zach, I hate working with you.
Let's drink some more drinks!
Wait. What fun we have, but we gotta drive now. We'll see you on the race.
When we go to breathalyze one more time. Point, 1, 2, oh. We're ready to drive.
Before the traffic stop actually occurs, we look for indicators of how this person is driving.
Sir, have you had anything to drink today?
Well, you know, I had a couple glasses of wine.
Yeah. Have you been drinking today?
I have not. Blatant disrespect of the law.
For science! Take you to court, then I'm gonna be the juror. You knew it? Somebody's gonna let me off.
Don't fight the guy. Don't fight the guy, bro.
What we do is the field sobriety test. A person is going to walk a line.
Eyes are the windows to the soul. 7. How many do you think I've taken? Give it some flair.
1, 2.
Yeah, there it is. Baby.
1.
Baby. Baby. What? Baby. Come on, baby. Baby.
I'm sorry, my friends are drunk. I'm the designated driver.
Designated hot.
Also, there's a finger to nose.
Right. Left. Right. Left. 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 Right. Right. Left.
He's so cute.
A little inaccurate, but...
I just fucking nailed it.
To elevate their foot 6 inches off the ground.
Oh, it's okay.
1 1,000, 2 1,000,
7 1,000. 8 1,000.
Look at me go, guys. I'm crushing it.
We're in
We got macaroons right now. We got macaroons.
All those are indicators of that that person is able to drive a motor vehicle safely.
I can safely say you're very drunk. Ready to drive.
And even if an individual may be over the legal limit, if they can prove that they're still capable.
What's up? My name is Zach, and I'm too drunk to drive.
So
today, I'm gonna drive. Babies, are you safe? Is your seatbelt on?
So safe.
I feel like I'm at that party where you have a lot to drink and then you hang out for an hour and you're like, yeah, you know what? I think I'm okay to drive.
Can I just have a little beer? No, you can't drink the beer right before.
I'm tipsy. That's what I would say. Right now I would say I would be tipsy.
Watch your most drunk friend fucking nail this.
Drinking and driving is 100% preventable. You choose to drink and then drive.
I don't even know how dangerous I am right now. Let's find out, bitch. Woo! Let's go!
100% preventable.
Drive. Let's go! Ned! My car! Dude, my car! It's my car!
Alcohol actually decreases your ability to make good judgments in your frontal lobe, the cortex, the part of your brain that helps with decision making.
All right, here we go.
So we're gonna drive. Why is everybody like going out like so? Like, just drive like you would drive.
I'm driving like I would drive.
Are you?
Oh, shit. Oh, here we go.
So we all have normally a nice filter that's going to say, you know what, maybe we shouldn't do this or maybe we shouldn't do that.
All right, let's go in. Okay. Take it nice and safe, but not too slow, because I don't want people to think I'm drunk.
But what happens when you start drinking alcohol is that filter starts to get diluted and go away.
Eugene, would you drive right now, like for real, for real?
I would drive right now.
Oh my god. This car.
And we're able to sort of say, oh, you know, it's okay. Let's go ahead and do these things that normally we wouldn't want to do.
That's what he wants. Jesus Christ.
I think any adult who tells you that they have not pushed it just a little bit is lying to you. I'm gonna stop even though I don't have to. I've definitely been in that situation where I go out, I have a drink or two, and I feel fine, and then by the time I get home and I'm pulling into my driveway, I'm like, oh boy, I should not have done that.
Most people that drink and drive have that moment.
What are you talking about? Oh,
You were definitely in the middle of
am I in the intersection?
Okay, nobody's coming this way.
What? Are you kidding me?
Where did that come
How's
from?
the cone?
Was that one real?
The cone looks good. The cone looks good.
I mean, I think a lot of people do this because it's really hard to gauge your own sobriety.
I just knew this guy. I know this guy. He's always fucking with me.
Everyone's always like, Keith just seems normal. And I could be like super fucking slosh. Everybody's like, Keith's fine.
Wow, that's very We're fucking doing great.
I'm not proud of it, but I've driven drunk before.
You fucking ready, bitches? Let's do
Yeah,
it.
we're all bitches. When I'm legally drunk, we've tested and proven that I feel sober, which is dangerous.
Eugene has this. Eugene drinks. Eugene knows how to drive. Yeah, he drinks.
Wow, dude.
Man.
Don't kill Mike. Okay, Mike, don't get yourself killed.
Be careful, bro. Be careful.
Oh shit! Stop!
Get us safe.
Zach drives talking on the phone, stresses me out. Eugene drives listening to loud pop music, stresses me out. Keith drives like too safe, stresses me out. Put your head down and let me see out my back seat.
Be careful.
I drive just right.
Be careful. Be careful. Wow, you questioned this.
So,
Be careful. Stop.
Stop.
So smart. Dude, stop fucking up my car.
Keith, you look good. Why don't you back that thing up? Wow.
You are fine, mother. What you want to back that thing up?
Which ones am I?
I don't know which ones you're hitting.
You're hitting some, for sure. You're hitting them. Right now, you're hitting them. What do I do?
Back up.
You may not be able to determine where your lane is going to be. You're going to be weaving throughout the lanes.
Where did I hit?
Cone.
No. And oftentimes, if you're really drunk, you're going to fall asleep.
You're in the intersection.
Let me try.
Impairment affects your reaction time,
Stop sign.
and they cause traffic collisions because of that.
You think you're doing well, but you're not
No! What was that? What was that?
Before people go out to celebrate, we ask them to think how they're going to come back home safely. Use public transportation, use a taxi, do not drink, and then drive.
And of course, there will be a couple of surprises along the way.
Oh, God!
Was that a dog on a skateboard?
Why was that dog skateboarding?
I would never hit a dog. I would never hit a dog.
Here's the thing you do is that you think you're doing well, but you're reckless as fuck. You're reckless as fuck.
What was that? What was that?
Stop sign.
You got to be careful.
No, Zach's up here. You're here.
Dog on skateboard. Blair. La mano arriba. Fast Furious 7.
Stop hitting stuff.
You're good.
Stop hitting cones.
I think you're good.
What? What dog? What was there a dog?
When there is a loss of life, we have to respond and knock on the surviving family member's door and let them know that their loved one is not going to be coming home. And that can happen to anybody.
Did you kill the dog? Wait, no,
That gives us motivation to do what we do, to try to save lives by doing enforcement, by doing education such as this video.
Oh, the dog's fine. Look at the dog. Get out of here. My God.
You guys ever know anyone who got into a drunk driving accident?
Yeah, that's a lot heavier of a subject to turn to, but they died.
We're going to talk about it.
They died? Yeah, that's what happens when you drink drunk.
Oh, you're dragging it. It's all fine, guys.
Oh, you're dragging it.
The dog's over on that side.
No, I think the dog's under your car. Stop! You fucking up my car, bro!
The closest it came to me is a drunk driver hit a car that my sister and her friends were in. Yeah, everyone was okay, so they got lucky.
Yeah, I had a couple kids in my high school die in drunk driving accidents.
It really also depends on the age. So a younger driver, like 15, 16, 17, would have even more of an effect because they're not used to driving. It's not such an ingrained habit in their brain.
Things were going so well.
I thought it was very well.
I don't know how to feel about this.
Car crashes are the #1 cause of accidental deaths for our young people in this country. We need to do everything we can to prevent them.
Okay, we saved the dog. We got it. We're good to go.
The consequences of drinking and driving are very, very serious. First, the driver is going to get arrested, is going to lose his or her freedom.
I want to do this thing without fucking it up.
The vehicle is going to get impounded. The driver license is going to get suspended. The insurance costs are going to increase.
You got it. Oh, you got it. No, we did. Yeah. We're not all
Also telling your employer that you were arrested for drinking and driving, and that may have implications as a condition of your employment. The monetary cost is well over $10,000, taking everything into account.
Go for it. Go. Yeah, you got it.
Wow.
This is a big old gator Jenga.
Wow.
Whoop. There's another cone. I did. Stop, dude! Stop fucking up my car! Make him make out. I want to make kids. Parallel park this bitch.
Driving is very complex. So although we get used to it and it becomes a reflex after time, we need our vision, we need our hearing, we need our coordination. If you don't have all of those things going on, you're not going to be able to be safe on the road.
Done. Good night. Goodbye. Good luck.
So what was everyone's final thoughts?
That we all crushed it. I think I could fight you right now if you needed to. My reflexes are good.
Did I hit a couple of cones? Maybe. Did I finish the course in half the time? Yes.
Dog seemed okay. Dog skated away from the accident.
That went exactly according to plan. What happened?
The morning after driving drunk, I feel...
I don't even remember everything about the drive. You know, I couldn't tell you all the things I did wrong.
I remember feeling just this surge of confidence like I have never felt before.
This was funny and fun because it was a simulation, but each one of those cones, I could be a pedestrian. I'm hearing what I actually did during the drive, and it's so different from my memory of the drive. In my mind, I did pretty well, but if you look at it, I was a nightmare. And also my friends were there. This is a pretty dangerous video. When you're driving, it's not just you. Everyone else is on the road, too.
And even if those mistakes were like small things initially, like clipping cones or clipping corners, when you're drunk and you hit something, it's a DUI. It's a $10,000 ticket and you go to jail. There's just no excuse not to take an Uber or a taxi. If there's no safe way to get to and from wherever you're partying, maybe today's not the day to party.
You drive drunk once, you do great, you have this undeserved confidence from being drunk. Now you've tricked yourself into thinking that you're good to go.
You're not.
This scar is from a car crash that I was in when I was in 4th grade. No one was drunk. That was just a normal people driving 30 miles per hour and I almost died. Nothing about a car is a game. If used incorrectly, it's a weapon.
It's not just, here's a video, slap a Band-Aid on it, everyone's good. We individually, as people who do drink, need to examine the way that we approach our confidence and pride when we're drunk. And I think this video really helped me to change the way I approach my own drinking culture. And I think that's something I have to do in a life change.
I think we all knew going into this video this was going to end up bad. But we also wanted to experiment some other things. What's it like to be high and driving, sleep deprived and driving, to text and drive?
3 more videos to examine and compare what it's like to be under the influence and behind the wheel.
Hit that subscribe button. Someone's gonna get hurt. You want to see it.
Now, what we just saw was them trying to be scientific about it, but the simple fact of the matter is that every time they hit a cone, that was a point at which they left the roadway. That means they could have hit a pedestrian, a bicycle, a parked vehicle. That's what each of those cones actually represents, is an opportunity to have had an accident. And when you have like one during the day, that's not so terrible. You know, that's you know, you had a lapse in judgment. When you're hitting 10, 15, 20 cones, that's not a lapse in judgment. That's an inability to maintain your position. You know, you just can't do it. All right, now alcohol and your driving ability affects on the central nervous system, folks. All right, well, alcohol's a depressant. All right, that means it acts like an anesthetic, slowing down the activity of your brain. Right? Alcohol is is not digested in the stomach. It is in fact absorbed directly into the bloodstream through the walls and linings of the digestive tract. All right, we need to start digestion for a bulk of the process to start. Okay, what does that mean? That means that we need to be in a point where we can actually start digesting. That means the contents of our stomach needs to be a certain temperature. Otherwise, none of that process starts and none of the signals get sent that tell your liver to start taking care of this stuff. And so that means it's just gonna take time. It's gonna take a bunch of time. The longer you spend drinking, the longer you're gonna spend intoxicated, because you're also on top of delaying it by pushing the sober time back by having another drink, but you're also slowing down the process at which you're getting sober, folks. All right, and once alcohol enters the bloodstream, it quickly affects the brain. That's why you can die if your blood alcohol concentration gets too high. And just suddenly, just for no other reason than your brain is Pickle Rick. You just stop functioning. Your brain stops working. Because that's what happens when you take an organ that's designed to handle electrical impulse and is responsible for running everything and soak it in more alcohol than oxygen providing blood. All right, now, Aaron Pennywell's story. Another of the faces of drunk driving.
Yeah, he was my closest friend. He was like my brother to me. It's hard to talk about.
I still think he's gonna walk down the hallway doing his goofy faces. I don't know.
It's never gonna sink in that we'll never get to see him again. He was such a bright person to be around.
He had a great smile and a great personality. He was funny all the time. He was always laughing, always playing jokes on somebody. I miss that a lot about him.
The drunk driver left the bar and went home. Well, supposedly there was some money stolen, or he couldn't find some money in his closet. So him and his wife got into it.
He walked in his car. He walked in the van. He's gonna kill somebody. Please stop him.
I don't understand, why did they let him get in the van? Why did, you know, to me, common sense would tell you something bad's gonna happen. They they should have done a lot more to stop him.
Karen, County 911 to me, please. Sorry.
There is a Mustang that has been completely destroyed. There is a car on its side in the ditch, and it's completely demolished. I can only tell what it is from the back fender. It's like a very bad collision. I think there might be fatalities.
Kim is the EMT that happened to be the first one to check on Aaron and to see how he was doing. And she grabbed his hand, and because she couldn't get him out of the seatbelt, she was trying to do CPR on him. She said she could hear the gurgling and all that from all the injuries. And so she grabbed his hand and she said, Aaron, if you can hear me, squeeze my hand. Well, he did for just a little bit, and then he died, and he let go.
Gurgling in the lungs is blood in your lungs. Your lungs have been ruptured, punctured, and you are now drowning in the stuff that keeps you alive.
It hit me hard, and I didn't believe it at first though. But after a couple days, it hit me. I'm never gonna see him again.
Every day I think about him, just even if it's just for a split second. This happened and it reminded me of him. I don't cry every day, but I think about him every day.
Aaron wasn't a guy who crossed the line. He wasn't reckless. He was very cautious, and of all of our friends, for something bad to happen to somebody, the last person you'd have ever thought was to be him. It's tragic for me of how hard-headed and thick people are, because we've got friends that all grew up together with Aaron, that lost Aaron, and have gotten DWIs since the accident. I don't know what it's going to take for people.
Unfortunately, for some people, it's going to take
You can't never forget your best friend, especially one like Aaron. Aaron was probably the definition of a best friend. So he was the best friend.
That's a real person. We can't get real people back when we lose them. And we can't take back the decision to get behind the wheel. Right? And many of y'all may have someone that you've lost, and if you haven't, rest assured that statistically, unless we get this in control and for real, before your life is done, you will have someone who lost their life or nearly lost their life to drunk driving, because it's still happening. All right, now, alcohol and your driving ability. Effects on judgment and reasoning. A driver impaired by alcohol has decreased ability to reason clearly and make sound judgments, even though the driver may feel that these abilities are sharper, quicker, and more accurate than usual. Okay. A person in this condition can develop a false feeling of well-being, also known as euphoria. We feel good, so everything must be good, and that gives us a false sense of confidence. Alcohol also lowers a person's inhibitions. Inhibitions are the part of our brain that tells us we shouldn't do this. Whether it's because we shouldn't do this because we could go to jail, or we shouldn't do this, this is evil, or we shouldn't do this, we could get an STD, we shouldn't do this, we could get arrested. Right? Alcohol makes that voice quiet down. Right? I have a cousin that when he is dead sober, he is kind and compassionate and caring and constantly making jokes. When he's intoxicated, it's kind of like being in a room with a wild animal and not knowing if you're about to die. He has extreme rage issues when he's drinking. So don't be around him if he's drinking, right? People change. The decisions that they're willing to make sober are very different from those intoxicated, right? And there are people that will exploit that, And there are individuals that are having thoughts due to some kind of mental illness, and then they get intoxicated, and now it's a lot harder to tell those thoughts no. Don't put yourself in the situation, folks. Anything after your second drink is anything after your third drink is more than you actually need to feel the positive effects. And you're just going to start getting more and more intoxicated and feeling worse and worse. So even if you do decide to start drinking as an adult or whenever, remember, keep it in control, because you're not going to get more amazing as you keep drinking. You're going to start feeling worse. And you're going to be in more jeopardy. All right. Now, we're going to watch one more video. This is Chili Vasquez's story. Well, if Jackie, the last young man, didn't do it for you, didn't convince you that we need to just make the decision not to drink and drive, then hopefully Chili can convince you, because she definitely didn't deserve. Come on, play the video, please. All right, come on. There we go.
When you hear the cause of a drunk driver hitting them, completely changes the whole view of everything. It was at 3:30 in the afternoon. It was a Saturday. My sister Maria took the girls to go get their hair done.
I remember coming up back, driving home. I'm not sure if I saw the car, but I think my reaction was I grabbed my hand and I hold my son. That's all I remember.
I remember waking up on the ground saying I'm hot. And then I said, "Where's my mom?" And the lady says she's in the car. And I'm thinking to myself, that's my aunt.
I guess they took me out and they laid me on the concrete and they're trying to talk to me. And I was like, "Is the kid's okay? Kid's okay? Kid's okay?"
Something told me, just check your voicemail. So as soon as I heard my voice message, I heard your sister and your daughters were in a car accident. And she goes,
They were hit head on by a drunk driver. They called me. I ended up going to Cook Children's Hospital to see Chili. She was in an ICU unit. I could see her wondering, is she gonna die? Is she going to live? Is she going to walk? I could see all that in her expression.
she was diagnosed as a paraplegic complete. Which basically means she has no sensation of her breast lying down.
I just wish it was me instead of her. And I wanted her to be able to enjoy just like the rest of the kids do, run and play and, and I see in her face that she can't.
None of this had to happen. He shouldn't have been where he was, but there he was.
I see it as, I'm a mother. I'm upset because of what he did to my daughter.
I wonder that he think about us and what he cost us. And I know I'm never gonna get my answers, but I'm curious. I'm really curious about what he has to say.
It's easy to say things like, if I crash, I crash. Hey, I know what I'm doing. I'm putting myself in danger, nobody else. But the truth of the matter is, folks, is if I crash, I crash into someone else. I crash into someone's home. Yeah, people hit trees and fences, but more often they hit other cars. More often they hit other cars that are full of other people. And so if I crash, should actually be, well, the thing that they should be saying is that if I murder people using my car because I shouldn't be driving right now, I don't care. Because that's the statement they're actually making. Because everyone knows that when you crash, it's not into nothing. There is a victim of the crash. Right? Could you face a 10-year-old girl and tell her, I'm sorry, you'll never walk again. I just had 5 drinks while I was at lunch and I was a little intoxicated. I don't know the exact circumstances of the other driver, but I don't have to because they were drunk and because of that this happened. And the end result is she can't walk, will never walk because of the condition that she now has because of that driver. So regardless of the circumstances behind it, what do you say to a child to make that better? There's nothing. So we make the decision to not drink and drive. All right, folks? I'm not going to tell you never to drink. I'm not going to tell you never to try drugs. I'm not going to tell you to do those things because that is your life, your decision. You will choose what you want to do regardless of what I tell you. But what I'm going to ask y'all wholeheartedly, what I'm going to tell y'all from the bottom of my heart, and I hope you can at least agree to this with yourself, is that don't combine alcohol and something that puts your life or someone else's life in danger. Right? You wouldn't get drunk and try to juggle chainsaws. Don't get drunk and try to drive. Now, folks, today was day 10 of Teen Driver Education, the Hernandez Driveway. All right, everybody. Now, today we did, of course, talk about drugs and alcohol. We saw, some people that were affected dramatically by it. Learned about Jackie, Reggie, and some other people that their lives are never going to be the same. All right, we saw the Try Guys be a little funny about this. Just being goofy, right? We saw, or you heard, about 3 young ladies that I met on one spring break. They changed my life because whenever I need that little extra something, I can remember that my life does have purpose. That for those 3 people, even if they didn't recognize it at that moment, I did do something for them that definitely made their life a lot better than what it was going to be. And in that moment, regardless of who was helping them, someone was there to help them because I was around. Maybe somebody else would have helped all 3 of them, maybe not. I don't know. I can't say for sure. But what I can say is that at the end of the day, making the decision to do the right thing and be there for others when they've made the wrong decision and put themselves in jeopardy has never made me wish I didn't do it. Even when I got slapped across the face and I got vomit in my mouth, I was like, still worth it. Because I was there. I didn't walk by. All right. Now, Monday we will be discussing managing distractions. And then on Tuesday we'll be talking about the effects of driver condition. Now, on Tuesday we will be watching another 2 of those Try Guys videos. We'll be checking out the sleep deprived in driving and the texting and driving. So if you'd like to watch the other one, of course, those videos are on YouTube. You can watch the whole series with or without us, but we'll be going over that as part of class on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, as I said, we'll be talking about city, country, and highway driving and sharing the roadway with motorcycles and large trucks. That's a cool day because we'll be watching some crash videos on the safety gear on those trucks. Those are always kind of fascinating, and it's kind of amazing how strong the safety equipment on there is because of what's happening to it and how it handles it. And then, of course, we're going to finish up with insurance and buying a car. Now, next week is the final week of Teen Driver Education, the Hernandez Driveway, folks. So we will need y'all to be done with your assignments by next Saturday. Final payments are due next Saturday, and I will, of course, be going over again next week how to get those appointments requested and how to finish paying off the account. Right, how to make those payments. We'll go over that information again because you need to know the information, right? But we will also go over some of those resources that y'all have available to you that you may need down the road. Like when it is time to get your license, if you need another 30-hour log, I'll remind you where you can find that. When it's time to watch the impact video, I'll show you where we have those links there on our webpage. That way you don't have to go searching the internet and finding these things all on your own. We make it nice and easy. and set them up for you folks. All right, because we really do care about your safety, and we want to make sure that this process is as awesome for y'all as it is for us. All right, so thank you for the opportunity to be the one to speak to you about drugs and alcohol today. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'll see y'all same bad time, same bad channel next coming Monday, where we're going to start day 11 of Teen Driver Education, the final week. All right, folks, so thank you so much. Y'all be well, be amazing, and we'll see y'all then. Same bad time, same bad channel for your live at 5 afternoon driving lesson here with Steve and Hernandez Driving School. Bye, everyone. And hey, since I'm not going to see you on Monday, and that will actually be a video that y'all are going to be watching, have a happy and safe Halloween. And remember, you're never too old to trick or treat. You're just too old to get candy without getting yelled at. Bye, everyone.